Well, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Bill Rigby, on the Agents of the Unexplained podcast. Find us on Facebook and in the future, YouTube. Well, we are on YouTube. My intro got to get fixed. But let me tell you something. Let me read a little bit here about our guest tonight. Norm Domek. Norm is a decorated military veteran. He has worked on projects and missions with all branches of the armed forces. Norm has been awarded several medals and commendations, including the prestigious NATO medal, 2 Armed Forces Expeditionary medals, and Meritorious Unit commendation, a sharpshooter ribbon, and a good conduct medal. That means he never got caught. Good conduct medal have also been earned. Norm also served in the Merchant Marines. Norm is a college educated. He has earned 2 management degrees and a multitude of certificates for training in sales, marketing, and client service. He's continuously learning how to create and improve profitable physical and digital products and services for his company and for his clients. He's an award-winning teacher. Norm has taught middle school, high school, and post-secondary. He has created and implemented curriculum planning and revisions at the state level in multiple states, including Pennsylvania and Florida. He has taught nationally accredited courses and qualified as a proctor for those exams. He has taught thousands of students in his career, and that number is continually rising with happy and successful students. Norm has exciting corporate world experience. In addition to being a military veteran and an educated, Norm is a classically French-trained chef. He has risen through the kitchen ranks to the highest position of executive chef. Norm has led culinary teams in New Orleans where there's an exotic blend of tradition and innovative mixes with fun and music you can feel in your soul. Over the years and across the country, Norm has worked for several companies, all of them valued in the billions of dollars, which I know for a fact. He has owned several businesses and is currently the CEO and founder of Theta Wave Blue Media. The company mission is to educate, entertain, and empower customers with 36 departments, including Norm's favorite department, paranormal and the unexplained. There is always something for everyone to enjoy. On the personal level, he is best known for his easygoing demeanor, his edgy sense of humor, and being a little eccentric, and being an overall nice guy. He is very upbeat and positive and nice to be around. This carries over to his professional reputation as well. He enjoys life and wants others to enjoy it too. Some of Norm's favorite things to do are reading, writing, swimming, watching paranormal and unexplained documentaries, gardening, cooking, and listening to loud club remix music and meditating. He also enjoys nature walks with his lovely wife, Lisa, and she is a great lady. Okay, now, before I bring him in, I can attest to most of that with Norm because I really got to know him recently. He is a very great guy, very, very educated, and he is very down to earth. So with that said, hey, Norm, come on in.
Hey,
buddy.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah, episode 7. Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And yeah, either you're Jack Daniels number 7 or you're 007. I don't know which.
Can we split the difference? Can we do that?
Have a little Jack with the mystery man.
Yeah, shake it, not third, right?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Angel right away. Norm. We're back at Cheers, buddy.
Nice.
We're back at Cheers.
I'm trying to follow along on Facebook and YouTube and some other screens around here, so I'm going to try to listen. But I will take your cue, Bill. If you want me to answer questions, I'll answer questions.
Yeah, so. I'm watching too. Hi, Diane Dunn. But anyhow, yes. Now, Norm, I read a lot about your background, your military training, and all that. We sat down and discussed it several times. Um, Now, Norm has helped set up my store, the Agents of the Unexplained store. He helped me set it up. He was phenomenal with that. you know, he did a great job for me, and I'm very appreciative of that. Um, but we have discussed some of the paranormal and some of the things that he can do and he's seen in the whole 9 yards. But tonight we're going to be mainly discussing about his ghost stories. And Norm, I'm going to let you take away with it. You start where you want to start.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, what happened there?
Glitch in the matrix.
Okay. Start where you want to start with your ghost stories, brother.
Well, okay, a little bit about, I think, why these ghost stories happen to me. I died multiple times, and 6 actually, to be exact, that I know of. There was the first time. It was when I was born. I have a twin, and the cord of her umbilical cord was wrapped around, and so I almost didn't make it. So I heard stories, and my mom said, you were purple. We didn't think you were going to make it. Thought we were only going to have 1 instead of 2. So that was interesting. But they apparently had to revive me at some point at that stage.
Right.
The second time, that was the first time that I knew of, but the first time that I was told about that, but the first time that I experienced it, that I knew what was happening, I was 5, and I got electrocuted. I was swimming, and still so young, go take naps, and so my sister and I would go up to take a nap. She was hot, I was hot. Still not really all the way dried off. Still kind of tacky from the pool. We're not dripping wet, but we're wet. And so I went into my parents' room to get the fan, and my little hands, and I guess they were still a little wet, and I just couldn't pull the cord out of the fan cord out of the extension cord. So I got it, and I just kind of bit it and pulled it with my mouth, and I got zapped. And I remember kind of getting sleepy and then waking up and yelling. I remember running to the top of the steps, yelling, and for my mother, and she's downstairs, like, what's going on? I said, I got electrocuted, and then I don't remember much after that, except I was laying in the truck. She called my uncle to come take me to the hospital because my dad was working at the steel mill. This is back in 70, 78, 79, I think, when this happened. And my uncle, I remember I was so short that my feet were on my mother's lap, and my head was on my uncle's lap, and I'm looking up and I see the steering wheel, and we're going, and I'm getting kind of tired. And I remember him talking to me, like trying to stay awake.
Right.
And then I remember feeling this like pop out of my head. Like I felt like it was just like a pop, and I was floating. And I remember seeing he had a blue Bronco, and I remember seeing it was going like down and away and getting smaller. And there was also a flame at the mill that would kind of waver, like it burn off the excess gas or whatever. Yeah. And it was going down like a candle. And I remember kind of laughing about it. And I remember that's the last thing I remember, other than being in the hospital, and apparently I was in hospital for a couple of weeks at that point. And my mother said there was teams of people trying to figure out how I came back and all this other stuff. So that was the second time. The third time that I died, I was swimming. We used to swim all the time in the river. I was a good swimmer. And there was a big truck inner tube, and I was a little kid, and we're playing, and I was out by, I was near the shore. I was still standing, just playing in the water. And I jumped on the inner tube. The inner tube wasn't wet, and I really wasn't wet either, because I just, was near the shore, and I jumped in, but my head went in and I couldn't get out. I got stuck. down in there. And I remember
Oh,
turning over, and I'm arched. My back is arched over this inner tube, and I remember looking up at the water. It was kind of like greenish brown,
right.
and then I just remember like everything got kind of heavy, and then I was there, and I remember just kind of going limp, and then I got this. It was like this yank on my feet, and it kind of rolled me over. And I remember like getting like almost like thrown back on shore. And I'm looking, and my dad's fishing, and I was laying there. And we used to lay on the ground all the time and lay in the sun, kind of, you feel that
Right.
warm rocks on you. So he didn't think anything of it. And I remember just kind of like getting that breath, like coming back alive, back to life, and it was just it was that was the third time. The fourth time was when I was in a car accident. I was 23, and it was October 8th of 1999. And I just got done working, 60 hours, and I finally had a weekend off. First weekend I had off in years, and I'm coming home. It's a Friday night, excited about the weekend, and I'm driving. I had a little 73 Super Beetle, and the lady was in the other lane. I remember seeing her coming over the hump. This is down in Florida with freshly paved roads, and it hadn't rained in probably a month. It was a drought, but now it was soaked. The rains were the streets were soaked, and I remember seeing her coming over the first little hill. She was in her lane, came over the second, and she was sideways right in front of me. And I had a little bug. She had a Toyota Previa, so she T-boned me. She slid sideways, and I went on. I remember feeling the windshield spider web, and just like boom. And I'm in there, and I'm just like, oh, what's going on? This lady comes over, and it seemed like she was there right away. So I don't know if I passed out or what, but she comes over, and she says, honey, I can't get you out. I've called the paramedics. And I said, well, I'm going to burn in here, because the gas tank was in the front and it ruptured, and the
Right.
wheels were filling up. They were both filling up, but mostly on the driver's side. The car was just smelled like gas. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I got to get out. I'm going to burn, because the engine's still on. There's cars going by. Nobody's really stopping to help. I can see them kind of slowing
Right.
down to look, but nobody's really helping. I guess they couldn't, because the dashboard had rolled down and it pinned me in there, and the clutch had actually gone through my foot and my left foot and just pinned me in. And so, I'm in there, and I just remember feeling like, okay, I'm getting tired. I got to get out of here. I don't want to pass out from blood loss or whatever. So I tried to. I saw my glasses are gone at this point, and I saw the door there was a little gap, the light, and I said, well, let me go ahead and just push the door open. So I tried to push with my elbow, and it didn't move. So I kind of reared back, and I hit the door. My hand hit my elbow, and I held it up, and my arm was cracked in half, and I was like, oh, that's not good. So I kind of like, put it back down, and I'm trying to push, but I didn't know if my spine was messed up. So I'm trying not to move too much, but I got to get out. And it was just awful. And as I'm looking,
Oh,
my eyes are burning. And what was happening was there was glass, because it was a 73, so there was no safety glass. So it
right.
exploded, and there was glass in my eye, and it was shredding my eyelids. And so so I'm trying to see, everything's red. So I had just massive injuries, from head to toe. But I remember being in there, and in this car, and then just getting tired. I was just like, let me just rest. They're going to get me out. And I remember seeing everything kind of get small and kind of float up sideways. It was like a television screen, and I had this feeling. It was like, do you want to stay or do you want to go? It was a voice, but it was more of a feeling. And I didn't want my daughter to grow up without a dad. I said, well,
Right.
I'm just gonna, I want to go back. And as soon as I did that, it was like being plunged into ice cold water. It was coming from this place where it felt like the best food, the best sex, the best music, the best of every earthly pleasure was there, wherever
Right.
there was. And then when I made that choice to come back, I came back to this lower vibration.
Yeah.
It was like a cold room. It just hurt. And I remember sitting up, and as I kind of sat up, there was a sheet on me, and it slid off. And they're like, holy crap, he's alive. And then the firefighters, now they're starting to scramble because they were just kind of hanging out, waiting for the
Oh,
coroner.
wow.
And now they're starting to scramble around and getting me out there. So they're cutting the car off me, and they're opening this thing like a flower, and they cut they cut the steering wheel, and boom, it hits me in the chest and collapses my lungs. Now I'm there with a broken arm, broken hip, broken leg, my kneecap's torn off, my leg is twisted around, and this clutch is through my foot. It's soaked, and it's all soaked in gas. And so they finally get me out, and I was like, look, they're pulling me out, and I was like, hey man, can you take the stick, take the stick out of gear, put it in neutral because it's poking me in the leg. And he's like, man, he's like, I don't know if you're gonna make it. He's like, your femur is sticking out. He said, and there's blood everywhere. And I was just like, well, you cut me out, do what you got to do. He's like, we're working on it. So he pulled me out, and I was like, hey, cut my leg off, just cut it off right now, because my left leg. I said, because I don't want to deal with all these problems that are going to come around. Just cut it off, because the only thing that was holding my ankle on was my Achilles tendon on my left leg. And I said, just cut it off so I can get a fake leg. I'll be fine. Just, and they're like, no, we can't do that. And I'm like, oh fuck. So they're packing everything in ice, and they're taking me in, and they were getting me ready for life flight. So they're prepping me for life flight. And then there's some more commotion. They're like, we have to call an ambulance. We have to call an ambulance. Well, I find out later that life flight had broken down.
Oh,
there was another accident up on the interstate. The helicopter broke down. That guy didn't make it, but they were supposed to drop him off, come get me, but he never made it. And so I remember having this bumpy ride in this ambulance, and it was just awful. But it was touch and go for me, because I remember like falling asleep and then being awake, and I was dying again multiple times, just kind of passing out because I didn't have any blood left. Everything's just gone.
draining out. Yeah.
So I was in intensive care for probably about I think it was 2 months. And then I stayed in the hospital another 2 months. So it was really, really bad. And it was long recovery. I was in a wheelchair for about 2 years after that. And it was tough. That was a tough road. I ended up losing my business, ended up getting divorced. I mean, it was a mess. I mean, it was by far the lowest I'd ever been in my life. But
Right.
that was the fourth time that I died. And the fifth and sixth times.
Oh, all right. Well, let's go back, regress a little bit.
Okay.
Like before you said you want to go back, you don't want to leave your daughter and all that.
Right.
What kind of feelings did you have there? Do you remember?
I do. It was, if you've ever had a really good day where things are just comfortable, where, the bills are, the house is clean, just as good as it's going to get, kind of a thing.
Right.
You're physically feeling good, you're financially good, just everything's good. That's what it was like there. It was like just as comfortable could be. It's like if you get a day off after working for, a month straight, it was just comfortable.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's decent. Okay, go ahead. I just needed to know this.
It was just the best feeling, when it's I don't like when people say it's indescribable and then they go on and describe it. So I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is it was comfortable. It's kind of like settle into a nice warm bed on a cold night.
Right.
And those kinds of good feelings. It was all wrapped into one. So
all right, Angel, Ghost Chick Angel writes, messed up feelings when you come back. So I have to ask you, did you tell anyone? I didn't for a very long time. Did you tell anyone about leaving and coming back, or did you wait a long time?
I did tell them. I have a twin sister who came to help me out in the hospital. I mean, she was bathing me. She was doing those kinds of things because the hospital only cleaned you every other day.
Yep.
She was doing it in between. She was doing it every other day on the days that the hospital wasn't. So my twin sister was, sponge bathing me and doing all that kind of stuff. And just, she was there. And I, remember having her there. My twin was helping me heal unto itself,
Right.
that thing. There was also something that happened in the hospital when I was there for a while. It was starting to get pretty dark and deep because I'd always been a guy, get it done, being in the military or working, just get it done. I've always had at least 2 jobs at a time. get it done, get it done. And now I'm incapacitated. And yeah, I started getting I was getting depressed, and I'd never
Right.
been depressed before. So I didn't realize what was going on. I just knew I didn't feel well. And I remember this lady coming in, this nurse, and she came in and she touched my foot. My foot was in pain and she touched it and the pain went away. And she said, honey, you'll be fine. She said, everything's going to be fine. And it was just super like calming. And she was, and I said, she said, are you hungry or anything? I said, no, I'm fine. I said, I'm just glad to be out of pain for a little bit. She said, okay. She said, well, you're going to be fine. And she leaves. And she was very pretty. She was blonde hair, blue eyes, just very pretty, very calming. And she leaves, and she was a nurse I hadn't seen before, and they changed nurses out every few days or whatever. And,
Right.
So I'm there, and this nurse comes in to check my blood. They wake you up if you're trying to sleep. They wake you up to take your blood pressure. The hospital is not a place to heal or get
any rest.
No. So she comes in and she's taking my blood pressure, and I had seen her before, and I said, who was that nurse in here? She was really nice. And she said, honey, I'm the only one working this floor.
Yeah.
So
Ghost Chick Angel goes spirit guide, healing touch.
Yeah. And it was just that, and it was it lasted for days. That just, but it kind of came back a little bit, but
right.
Because that was me getting up doing physical therapy and everything else. But that was the big one. That was the really big thing for me. The one that I died, but the fifth and sixth time that I know of was in my sleep. One was 5 years ago and one was 6 years ago, actually. And I remember sleeping and just kind of dreaming. And then I was somewhere else, is it a dream? Because dreams can feel real, right?
Right.
So I'm there, and wherever there is, and I was like, this is comfortable. And I'm kind of back where that whole comfortable, best food, best sex, best music, best everything. I'm there again. And then it was like, I remember somebody saying, no, it's not your time. And it's like, what? But this is cool. And then all of a sudden it was like, it was my lungs trying to fill up, and I sit up and I can't get enough air. And my wife's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And I just couldn't breathe, and it's just slowly the life is coming back into me, and she's like, don't do that. I said, well, it's like I had a choice, so, but I did have a choice. I had a choice apparently to stay or come back, but
right.
but they said it wasn't my time again. But that happened again once more after that. So that was 6 times. So crossing that barrier, wherever there is, whatever that is, that veil between the physical and the spiritual, I've crossed that. I think we all cross it. I don't know if we do it, slightly in our sleep every night, and some people just go a little further on different occasions. I don't know, but I know that I was all the way there at least 6 times, and that veil, that has helped me with with intuition. It has built that intuition up for me. So,
Angel wrote, she is always with you, Norm. They only show themselves when you are in deep distress. They will come especially when a person is contemplating self-harm or in an extra dark place.
mm-hmm.
They all cross in our sleep at least 3 times a year, she said. I did not know that.
Say that again? No. We all cross over 3 times a year?
Yeah.
Really? Like on solstice, or what would those times, is there a specific, or sometimes that are more prevalent than others?
I don't know. That's a good question. She goes, yes. Okay. I don't know if she's saying yes to Rob. In this place that is someplace else. Is it sepia in color? I experienced another place where I saw my parents after they passed, and it seemed to be sepia in color. What is sepia? SEPIA. Robbie, what the hell is that?
For me, I haven't seen that. This looks like regular, like kind of like going to a park. My stuff is always kind of like I feel like it's an outdoor classroom kind of a feel to it, so
Yeah. Well, Robbie
to
says
me,
a tannish brown.
well, that was, for me,
Yes,
it's
it's
like a
like a
sunny,
dawn dusk color, like a blush. Angel says. Well, to me, yeah, the dreams I remember are living color. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't remember too many dreams. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm taking it as a good thing because I don't know what the hell I'm dreaming about.
Mhm.
Some of the dreams I did dream that I remember, eh, they kind of freaky. But when I was like 11, 12 years old, uh, friends of ours, the one son got killed, got ran over.
Mhm.
And the night before it happened, I dreamed about it that it happened to him.
Oh, well.
And I think I actually forced myself not to remember dreams because of that, because that totally freaked me out. And I haven't had a dream like that since. So I don't know if that's just a one time deal or I actually forced myself not to remember.
Right. Well, I mean, you could do whole shows just on dreams, and what's there's a saying, if you don't remember it, it's a dream. If you do remember it, it's a message. There's something like that.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, but the
Uh,
some of the dreams, that I have had, this podcast is about ghosts, right? And
uh,
so some of the ghost experiences that I have had, most of them happened. I lived in pretty much the same house growing up. 5142 Ladora Street is the name of was the address. The house has been demolished at this point, but there was a lot that happened in that house, to me, to that house, and everything else.
I brought up your DD 214, which is the discharge for non military people. And your address is on that.
Yep, that's the house.
That's the
That,
house. Yep.
that's the verification right there.
Yep. Um, yeah. So, you know, it, so tell us about the house.
Well, the house itself was has a dark history, and I didn't when it was there. I didn't know that until later in life. But I remember as a kid, I'd hear these knocks, and these three knocks on the door, and we had our house was they were they were really close together. It was the houses for the steel workers, built in 20s, 1920s. It's hard to believe it's now the 2020s, but they
Yeah.
were they were really close together, and across the street was just all row houses. They were all connected. Our houses weren't, but you could barely get through. The alleys were so small. So when somebody knocked on the door, you could see from in the windows from the houses across the street who was, if they were hiding behind your house or on your
Right.
porch, you could see everything. And so, I'd hear these knocks, bang, bang, bang. Sometimes it was the kids playing and you could see them, the ding dong ditch or whatever they
Yeah.
call that now, you know. So I remember these three knocks, bang, bang, bang. It'd be in the middle of the night or, just different times. But you'd look outside, there wouldn't be anybody there. So I'm like, well, maybe my mother let him in. Maybe somebody let him in. So I'd come downstairs, and and as I was coming downstairs, when I first realized what was happening, I'd go down and ask my mother if she'd let somebody in. Was she sleeping? She'd sleep on the couch sometimes. And I remember one time I looked over, and as I looked over, she had a cigarette that was lit. And as I looked over, the light had just fallen onto the sheet. And I was like, "Hey, mom, wake up." He is, so she'd wake up, and then next time, bang, 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 three knocks. This might be a week later, might be a month later. There was no real rhyme or reason that I was trying to.
Right.
It happened so often that I was trying to say, okay, is it on the first Thursday of the month or whatever, But I was a kid, and I remember bang, bang, bang. I'm looking around. I get down. Mother's fine, And just let me go check. I smell gas, so I'd go down in the basement and I'd look and see a pile of light. We had a water tank, and I remember seeing the pilot light just kind of over here. Where's the dark part here? I remember seeing it flickering, and as I'm looking at it from across the basement, it just goes out, and it's just the gas coming out at this point. So I realized that these 3 knocks it was something letting me know, hey, there's something going on. You need to be aware of it. And it was an angel of some sort that was there, but there was more to that house. There wasn't all pleasant by any means. Between the 3 knocks, there was a time that my mother and I were in the living room, and we're watching TV. And in the summer, we used to have an air conditioner in there, and you couldn't go in and out of the front, because that way we had one cool room at least in the house,
Right.
a window unit. So everybody would come in and out of the back. Well, my sister, just like I would do when I was with my friends, we'd come to my house and eat. So when she had her friends, they'd come to our house and eat, whatever. So my mom and I are in there watching TV, and we hear in the kitchen this banging around. It's not just a snack, that my sister was making. It was a full-fledged meal, and it got louder and it got louder, and there's pots and there's pans and the cupboards and everything. I looked at my mother. I said, what the hell is she doing? Making a Thanksgiving dinner, and just laughing about it. It was the middle of summer. Well, my sister now comes walking in the front door, and it stopped. So my mom and I got up and looked, and we go in the kitchen, and it was like poltergeist. Every cupboard was opened, every dish was on the table, everything in the refrigerator was out, everything that could be moved was moved, and all the gas on the stove was on with no fire. It was just
Wow.
coming out full blast, and it was ridiculous. And to this day, it still freaks me out when I
Yeah.
think about that. And it happened so fast. I mean, it was just maybe from the time we started hearing the noises to the time we went in was maybe 5 seconds, maybe. So whatever happened in there, all of that happened in 5 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And my sister was always afraid to go downstairs. I was like, what's the big deal? Let's just go downstairs. You know what I mean? As a kid, she would have me, walk down. Our basement was down there. I would sit at the bottom of the steps while she would go across the basement and into the bathroom. And she'd always want me to wait for her. I'm like, I'm not waiting for you. And I'd run up the steps, and we were swimming one time, and I had to go ahead in the house and use the bathroom. So I go downstairs, and I'm sitting there, a lot of fruit in the summer, and I'm sitting there, and there's this bag. It was the old Giant Eagle bags. They used to be white back in the day. And
Yep.
so it's on the floor, and it's kind of moving around like there's a mouse in it. Now I'm like five years old, and this thing's moving around, and I was like, oh, there's a mouse, and those bugs didn't freak me out. There's my twin sister. Yep. And I'm the one with the hair, ironically. So not anymore.
I don't know how that happened, but
but she's sweet. She's 2 minutes younger than me. Heather.
And she's 10 times cuter.
She is a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. She joined the Navy as well.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. But I'm sitting there, and this bag's moving around. I thought it was a mouse, and then it's kind of moving around, then it stops. And then as I'm sitting there, the sink is even with my little short arms, the sink is right here. You can turn the water on and off, and the bathtubs are kind of over here. And so I'm sitting there, the bag stops. Well, the water comes on real slow, and it wasn't anything menacing about it. It was just kind of fun. It was just kind of coming on real slow. And I reach over and I turn it off, and I'm kind of laughing. And then it comes on again, real slow, the water, real slow. And then it comes on, but it's all the way on this time, but it went on slow. And I'm laughing, and I turn it off. And then all of a sudden, the bag that's out there shoots up, and it sticks on the ceiling, and it kind of floats down. But as it shoots up, and it's starting to float down, and as that happens, all the water comes on. Both waters on the sink, both faucets, they both turn on all the way, and the same thing in the tub all the way at once. And then what felt like fun at first did not feel like fun at all.
turned into fear real quick.
really quickly. So
Yeah.
it went from being nice to not nice. And I always had feelings. Something just touched me, by the way. And there's this house, there's things with this house too. Something just touched my arm. Um, but and it might be the same spirits we're talking about now. I don't know. But growing up, I would sleep, and I'd sleep in my bed, and there was a closet there, and I remember sleeping and feeling like somebody was watching me, and energy coming across the room, and it would get like I could feel it, like it was almost touching me, like somebody's like just leaning down, and then just you could just feel it. And I was so afraid I couldn't open my eyes. And I figured as a kid,
I remember.
I'll grow it, whatever, just kind of don't watch scary movies before bed. That's back when Knight Rider was on, so I'd watch Knight Rider, and
Yeah.
because that's empowering, and it- but that happened all the time, and even as I got older, I started martial arts, and I worked my way through the ranks there, became a black belt. This thing still scared me. I wasn't afraid of anything, but I was afraid of this, whatever this thing was that was coming out of the closet. And there were times, and it had kind of the accordion, like almost like a fabric, plastic kind of a door. And I could hear it sometimes sliding open. And one time I heard it slam open. It was closed because I would try to make sure it was closed every night. And there's mornings I would wake up and it'd be open. And
Wow.
but there was times when I would hear it slam open, and I would just be paralyzed and there's the whole sleep paralysis, but this was something different because I could hear it coming out. And there was times when I would go and like on the carpet, the mat, I think you call it, if you
Yeah.
push it one way, it will stand up if you lay it down flat. So I would lay everything flat and do the kind of like the floor is lava, and kind of step on my dresser and whatever, and get back to bed so that I wouldn't mess up the carpet. And there were times that I would wake up in the morning and there would be tracks from the door to my bed. Yep.
Yep.
So that was, and there was so much that happened in that house. And there was, oh my goodness. Well, let me move on to the next thing, because there was so much just with that. We're going to run out of time. So any questions so far before we continue?
No, not right yet.
Okay. Well, that was the demon in my closet. That was that one. So forgive all my papers and my notes here. The next big thing that happened to me, there was a lot, but the next phase of my life was joining the Navy. And we had in boot camp, I went to Great Lakes, Illinois. Yeah, that's the demon in the closet. That's what that thing felt like.
You should have warned me. I could have posted it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Man, that kind of looks like one of my relatives.
Oh.
Now that's scary.
Well, we had in the Navy, they teach you how to stand guard, right? They, and I guess you were in the military as well. They taught you how to,
in the Army. Yeah.
how to protect whatever little area you're in.
Right.
So in order to do that, we had these big aircraft hangars, right? And I was there in it was August through early November, and up in Great Lakes, Illinois. And I had the watch. It's called the watch bill. It's like the schedule of when you stand guard. And so I had what they call the balls to four watch. It's midnight, which is 0000 on the 24-hour clock, to 4 a.m., which was 0400. So the balls to four watch is what I had. And I'm there, and I'm in this. There's this huge aircraft hangar, and it's all dark, and it's cavernous, and it's huge. It's an aircraft hangar, and it's a big one. And they used to use it for ceremonies, for people graduating, and all that kind of stuff. So it was big. And in the front of it was called the quarterdeck. And it was kind of like a little lit office. And that's where we stood guard. Well, that room was lit. But behind us was this big open cavern that was dark. And I was standing there, and you have to stand at parade rest, and it's not real comfortable. And you have to, every 15 minutes, you have to log in the book, all conditions normal, or, because there's nothing else going on. Right before. Unless somebody comes in, which they never do, if it's a roving watch or whatever, but nothing ever happened. but they just wanted you to practice writing in the logbook, to practice your military writing, whatever, because boot camp. So I remember hearing these high heels behind me, and they were off in the distance. It's a big aircraft hangar. I hear this girl laughing, and I hear a guy, and they're way behind me, and I'm like, it's probably some officer with a woman. I don't want to deal with this. I'm like an E2, like I don't want to have to, tell some lieutenant or whatever you can't be here. I don't want to deal with it. So, but I keep hearing them like, well, they're not leaving, and they shouldn't be in there anyway because all the doors are locked, right? And
Right.
so, but how do you get in unless you had a key? So anyway, I'm listening. I said, okay, I got to go find, I got to go tell them they can't be here. So I go and they have these little flashlights. They're rounded and they don't work really well, but they call them a recruit flashlight. And so, I'm in this huge aircraft hangar with this little light, trying to find these people. I hear them, they're off in the distance, and I'm trying to make my way to. And it's a big hangar, but there's still some things in there because flag poles and everything for graduations. So I'm going and I can't. I'm listening, and I hear them, and then I don't hear anything, and I'm halfway into this aircraft hangar, and I'm looking around, and there's a little light that wasn't on before, and so there's a little doorway, and it's off to the side. So let me go, and I do the whole, halt, who goes there? Like you see in the movies, like they teach you, halt, who goes there? And I got my little light, and and I see this little lit doorway. So I go in, and there's a hallway that's lit, kind of by a room that's off to the side. And I hear as I enter the hallway, in this dimly lit old, it smells old, which is really weird because in boot camp everything is painted and shined. You have nothing but free labor in boot camp, and it was really, really weird. It was off because everything was, like I said, was pristine except this old, like it was like I was going back in time. It was really weird. And I'm walking through this hallway, and I hear this woman crying. And as I go down to where the room is lit, as I turn to go in the room, the light goes off, and I'm looking for my flashlight, because I had it, and I go and because I'd put it in my pocket because I didn't want to burn the battery out because it was just a little battery, so I put it in my pocket and turned it off. Now I'm trying to pull it out real quick. I pull it out and it falls, and I kick it at the same time, and it kind of goes off. So now I'm in this dark room that I heard a woman crying. There's nobody in there that I can see. No, I can't hear anybody anymore. So I'm trying to find the light switch, and it's kind of old, thick layers of paint. And it's like, and there's an old light switch, super old, and I click it on, and it's just a storage room. And there's nobody in there. There's nowhere for anyone. I'm looking around. It's, maybe 10 by 10 square. There's nobody in there. And I'm looking around, and I see off in the corner this old mirror, like the USO girls would when they would get ready, put their makeup on or whatever. It was it was a makeup area, and so I'm like, what the heck is going on? So and I smelled perfume, like rose. It smelled like roses, like faint roses. I was like, what? And I had this feeling of dread, and I was just like, what's going on? And so I look for my flashlight that I kicked, and I get it, and as I'm standing there, I kind of got these feelings. It was almost like a movie that played in my head. And I get the feeling that, and what I was shown was this woman was made to do things that she didn't want to do in that room. And
Right.
I was feeling that, and I was feeling that dread, and I was feeling that betrayal. And it was just really, like, it was sad. There's no other way to describe it. And I didn't even turn the light off. I just kind of walked out, and I was like, what's going on? And as I'm walking back, as I'm walking, I walked through this waft of rose perfume. And I'm getting goosebumps now. I don't know if you can see that on there, but I'm getting goosebumps now just telling the story because it was middle of the night. It's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and this happens, and it all happened so fast, and it was such an intense experience,
Right.
from the paranormal side of things.
I know, like you're saying about the hangar and all that. When I was in basic training at Fort Knox, I was in one of the last wooden billets that they had. They were tearing them all down and replacing them with brick and mortar type.
Okay.
Well, So we had fire guard duty every night. Somebody had to be up.
Mm.
Well, I didn't sleep much at night, so I covered for several guys. And I was usually, they gave us an hour a night to do it. Well, I usually did 4 to 5 hours every night. And some of the strangest noise in those old wooden villages, and weird feelings.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah. Uh, it felt like someone was there walking around. You think you're hearing something, so you check real quick because everyone's supposed to be asleep, and they are,
Right.
but you don't see nothing. Uh, or you feel someone behind you, and you turn and look, they're not there. It's like, it's just a creepy feeling. It's an old building. You know, I wasn't putting two and two together. I was only 17 at the time, turned 18.
Right.
So, you know, and just went in the military.
Right.
You know, I'm starting to experience real life adventures. And, all right, wait a
And
minute.
how many things happened that were paranormal that we just didn't even, it wasn't even on our radar then. It was just, oh, that was weird, you know. But now being older, having the experiences and sharing these types of experiences with other people, we know they were paranormal now.
Yep. All right, Angel got a question.
Yes.
Okay, you're a twin. Does your sister have the same ability as you? Haven't you ever read about the twin factor?
Yes, we have something, we call it twinsies, and or twin tuition. Is what she and I call it. There have been many instances where something has happened to her or me, and she feels it or I feel it. Many miles apart. There was one instance, you know, just very quickly. There was one where I was at a friend's house in a neighborhood not too far from my own, and I was playing old Atari, and I kind of had the square joysticks. You remember that? And you kind of, and I'm playing, and all of a sudden, you know, I can't move my wrist. Like I was like, I can't move my hand. That's weird. You know, I just couldn't move it. And my mom was supposed to come get me. She never did. It was like 7 o'clock. She was supposed to get there. You know, 8 o'clock. She never gets there. She didn't have my friend's number. This is back before cell phones. You know, this is probably 1985. And so she finally comes to get me. It was a few hours late. And she said, sorry, I was late. I had to go. I was in the ER. Your sister broke her wrist. So that's, you know, and I still couldn't move my wrist. When my mother came to get me, I still couldn't move my wrist. It took about 2 days for it. Didn't hurt at all, but I just couldn't. I couldn't move it. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't move it. So there was that, and I think and there was lots of things like that. But the biggest thing that happened had to do with the military. I went through, as most people do, you go through the gas chamber in boot camp. Yes. Right. So they, you know, bust a capsule and all that gas is in there. And, you know, you have your gas mask on, and then they tell you to take it off so that they can prove to you that your mask was working.
Wait a minute. You said capsule?
It was a capsule.
They had the grenade.
Well, whatever. It was
tear gas grenades. And they smoked this and tear gas us at the same time.
Well, whatever they used, it wiped the whole unit. Was within seconds was in pain, and that pain is this searing. It burns. It's like it's like hot water, but it's not hot water, and it gets in your eyes, it gets in your nose, and you can't see, you can't smell, you can't open your eyes, nothing. It's just you're just in pain. You know, coughing, you can't breathe. It's an awful experience. And, you know, I went through that, you know, and I get outside and, you know, recuperating, whatever. And then, you know, fast forward for me, this is now probably 4 months later. I'm in Millington, Tennessee, beautiful spring day. Windows are open, quiet. I'm in class, in an electronics class. And it's quiet. Everybody's, you know, you can hear the paper on the pencil, you know, the military classrooms that we were in. You can hear a couple birds, maybe way off in the distance, but it was dead quiet. And all of a sudden, my eyes started to kind of burn a little bit, like getting itchy. And then that feeling, the gas, I get down on, when it's quiet, and I scream. I can't see. I get down on the floor as I'm screaming, "We're being gassed! We're being gassed!" And everyone, they're looking around like, "What is wrong with you, bro?" And I can't see, and they, I can't, my nose is running, and they take me to medical, and so they swab me, they do all this stuff, and then the I was there for probably about 2 hours for observation. And as I'm there, you know, they're calling around. They're like, "Hey, is anything happening in any of these places?" They're checking the air samples. They're doing all this stuff, and it just kind of went away. Well, they sent some stuff off to the lab, and I go back to class, and this was on like on a Friday. Well, Saturday you could call home, and
Right.
so I called home, and my mother was kind of like the hub. My sister was in boot camp at the time. And I said, "Mom, by any chance, did Heather go through the gas chamber?" Now she's in Florida, and I'm in Tennessee, and she was in South Florida. I want to say it was Tampa, and used to go to boot. Uh, I was in Illinois, so I didn't know. But I was in Tennessee, in Millington near Memphis. She was way down in Florida, and I said, "By any chance, did she go through the boot camp, go through the gas chamber?" Yesterday. And she said, "Yeah, she did." She called and said that she survived the gas chamber. And then Monday, when I go back to school, when everything's back open, they came into the schoolhouse, they called it. They had my medical results, and I had been gassed when they swabbed my eyes, they swabbed my ears. I had been exposed to gas, but nobody else was. But my sister was at the time.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is crazy. That's
So,
weird. But
and
that's the twin tuition stuff.
paranormal's the new normal, my man.
Yes, it is.
And apparently it's been happening for a while. Nice shirt. Nice shirt. For anybody watching or listening, go to Bill's store and buy a shirt. They're super comfy.
The link's in the comments.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was another Navy story, unless anybody has something, but there was another issue.
Angel did say old mirrors and buildings hold so much residual energy, and that they do.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on in this old town of ours, as you do too, down around your area, Norm. Where you live is an older area too.
I think all places do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these places were built late 1800s, early 1900s. Most of these towns in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ghost stories and different paranormal stuff that does happen.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the cryptid Bigfoot and Dogman, Mothman stuff. No, there's a lot of ghost stories. And I hear a lot around the valley here. So, and I know you have several more to go through.
I do. And, I know we're coming up on an hour. So if I can get one more in, that if you to keep it at an hour, if you'd like to do that, then because I am coming back next week, so we can finish that up. So with that,
folks, we're going to definitely have them back next week to finish everything up. But before you go in that story, I got to do this. I got to plug something here. We do have the paranormal conference coming up in March 25th, 2023. Norm's going to have a table set up there. He's not speaking or anything. You can come up and speak to him in person. And he has this ain't all he knows about the paranormal. Believe me, we discussed several things. So please plan on attending. We got 6 sets of speakers, and every one of them is great. So yes, I had to plug that real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be loads of fun. And one other thing Angel said, I tell my people houses have better memories than people. She's right.
Yeah, I like that. That's very accurate.
Yeah. This house has some old history to it too. And some of it's not good. But anyhow, go with your next story.
Well, the Sorry.
Angel says she guess she'll come to the conference. She's paid for a table.
Well, I'm looking
I got
forward
a
to meeting
free.
you.
I got a free take money offer then if she don't.
Well, one more story, and there are plenty more in between. There were more before this one, and there were plenty more after this one. But this one was also a Navy related story. It was my first ship that I was on. It was an aircraft carrier. It was called the USS Forrestal, and you can find more information about this on YouTube. But I experienced it firsthand in the many years ago in the Gulf of Tonkin. There was a big fire on the USS Forrestal, and there were many good men that lost their life that day, either battling the fire or being caught up in it. And I was on the ship. We were working. Everything was fine. Then the ship it kind of got too old, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to go and redo it. We're gonna paint it and get it all ready to. We're going to kind of refurbish it." So we're up in the Philadelphia shipyards. We were in Pensacola, Florida, and then we go up to the shipyards in Philadelphia, and those shipyards are eerie because they're old. Like Angel was saying with the houses, this land with this pier had been hundreds and hundreds of years old, but and now you have a haunted ship that is in a haunted base. So the energy was it was dark and it was sad and it was depressing. I mean, you're in the shipyards, and it's middle of winter. I mean, it was awful. On top of all that, I was taking some college courses at the time called deviant personality. And so we're learning about Dahmer and Gacy and all this stuff. So on top of everything else, on top of being very intuitive, it was bad. But we're painting. There was a let's just call him Larry for his first name. So that is not his name, but I was trying to find him on Facebook to get permission to use his name and tell his story, but I couldn't find him. So we're climbing in what's called an elevator well. So we've got to kind of climb up 3 decks and in this little hole, and then down 3 decks. We're taking all these. Our job was to strip the paint off the walls, and it's called a needle gun or a pneumatic chipping hammer, I think is the original name for it. So it kind of just shoots the paint, chips all the paint off. So there's a lot of gear that you have to lug through this little hole, and then down 3 decks, and we're down there. And you have to have, it's loud, all this pneumatic equipment. So we're in there, and we've got ear protection on, and he's behind me, and the space is probably, I don't know, 8 foot square. And there's these big cables coming through. Kind of looks like when you see on the movies on the elevators, when where you get the cables, people are jumping around on whatever. But these cables are running through this space. And so we're in there, we're hitting the needle gun, and I keep hearing, "Shut up! Stop it! Shut up!" And I'm hearing it. It's as loud as I can, like somebody's, and I went and I tapped my friend Larry, and I said, "Hey man, what?" And he stops and he takes his stuff off. He says, "What?" I said, "Why are you telling me to stop? Why are you telling me to shut up and stop?" He said, "Man, don't stop playing. Just get back to work." I was like, "All right," because there was a lot of stuff that happened on that ship anyway that was always happening. But this particular experience was ours, and we didn't think anything of it. So we put our ear protection back on, and we're going. And I feel this tap on the shoulder. I look, and I stop working. I take my stuff off. I said, "What?" He said, "Why are you yelling at me?" I said, "What are you talking about? I'm doing the same thing." He said, Stop playing around. Let's get this done so we can just go on liberty." And I said, "Look, it wasn't me." And so we're both working. We're back to work, maybe 5 minutes. And then both of our pneumatic stuff, we both had like crimps in the hoses. Like they just stopped working. And I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "I don't know. Everything's plugged in," because there was the airlines were inside the spaces. I said, "It's on, unless we lost air somewhere, but the pressure gauge was fine." And so I was like, "I don't know. Let's get back to work." So I get the thing to make sure it's not a kink in the hose, and I'm standing there, and he's across from me. And as I'm holding this pneumatic chipping hammer, it flies out of my hand and hits the wall. Like I did, he's
Oh,
over
cow.
there, I'm over here. And so if he were to pull it, it would go towards him. If I were to pull it, it'd go towards me. There was nobody else in this space. And it shot across and it hit the wall. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and we run out of this space. We're climbing up. He's trying to pass me. I'm trying to pass him. We get out. We finally get out of the space. We told our boss, we're like, we're not going back there. And we didn't. I don't know if that ever got painted. This was 20 years ago at this point, 30 years ago. I don't know whatever happened, but we never went back. We told a friend of ours, and he's like, yeah, right. And he went in and got the equipment. We never even went back to get the equipment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really scary. It was really scary.
Yeah. And well, like Angel says, traumatic loss of life is the worst. And having so many die on that vessel itself.
And there are other ghost stories about that ship on Facebook
There is
people who lived, on there after that situation.
You told me about it, and I kind of went and searching and saw some of the stories. Yes, and it's very interesting. It is, and like I said, folks, he has so much more to tell, and we are definitely going to have him back on next week, and to get more of his crazy stories and experiences he's had. It, very interesting.
Yeah, the next, just to tell you what's happening next week, or if you email me, I'll give you the headlights, but the highlights.
I like the headlights, huh?
The next story goes into my psychic, my intuitive awakening, and how people from the other side actually trained me to focus on the messages that are coming through, which was amazing. And that was I don't want to tell you who, but it was somebody super, super important in my life, and they came back. So, people say that after a loved one passes, they see them or whatever, they make an appearance. Not only did this person make an appearance, but they taught me. They taught me just as much after they died as they did when they were here.
Yeah. See, I kind of already knew, because you and me discussed a little bit about that, but not that part. I did not know that. And Angel got one more question for you.
Okay.
Who is the ghost in your studio?
There was the places that I've lived.
She's talking where you're at now.
Where I'm at right now. I don't want to say his name because it tends to rile things up a little bit, and I kind of like sleeping through the night. And really, I just don't want to bother my wife, to be honest with you, or him. I know it's a him. There is somebody who committed suicide literally right here about 13 years ago, and that was very sick. Didn't want to go through the pain of chemo and all this other stuff, and ended his life right here. And I will tell you that when we were looking for this house, I had a young child with me at the time. I had two kids, and as we were down in the basement, this one child says, and she didn't get freaked out about it. She was kind of a level-headed kid, and she said, she's down here. We're down in the basement, and she's standing kind of on the steps, and she kind of looks over, and she says, oh my God, there's a man, he's bloody and he's got half a head, and and she runs out, and she would not come back in the house. She actually ran outside. And I was like, kids' overactive imagination.
Wait a second. Now, Angel can see dead people. And she wrote, I saw him twice now behind you.
Okay. Yeah, I believe
so he's there right now.
He touched my shoulder, something we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
But when along those lines, after we moved in, didn't really think anything of it. We're kind of getting situated in the door. I have to take a picture, but there are two doors. There's one we use for dry storage for our pantry, but the doorknob started shaking. All right. My wife hasn't heard the story. I don't know if she's going to listen in now or if she's going to watch this. But the doorknob started shaking, and it's kind of dark down here, whatever. And, before we had all these fancy lights and turned it into a TV studio, the doorknob was rattled. I stopped and I was right next to him. And I was on the way up the steps. It was like it was trying to scare me to go up the steps. I said, look, I don't know who you are or what you're about. I'll help you if I can, but don't, if you want to do battle, we'll do battle and I'm going to win. So knock the shit off. Sorry, podcast. I said that, but this is what I said. I said, just knock it off. And it stopped. The rattling stopped. And the feeling was different in the air, and there's mail that still comes for him. And we make it a point not to read the name just so it doesn't rile things up. But we've had old mirrors fall over.
Well, she says he don't like you talking about this.
Yeah. Well, I'm very intuitive, but everybody kind of reaches different beings at a different frequency. So Angel, if you ask him what I can do to help him, I will be glad to do that. So, you can email me or whatever, DM me in Facebook or whatever, but whatever I can do to help him, just like I help the living, I'll be glad to help the dead. I've helped people cross over, and if that's something I can help him do, I'll do that. So, but next podcast is my spiritual awakening. I went to a psychic, and they told me about my house that I grew up in and the demons in the closet and what happened there. So that is a crazy story. There's a building downtown Pittsburgh that is a landmark that I used to work at, that there were several instances there. We're going to discuss that. That has to do with colonial soldiers and all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about a ghost girl that climbed in bed with us over it, kind of near the Strip District in Pittsburgh, but on the other side of the river. And then the current situation, and we just talked about my cousin's vision of the bloody person, but we're going to go a little bit more in the depth about what's happening here. And I'd love to hear Angel's take on things, since she can, she's a little bit more in tune with him. So
right. That's going to be really interesting. Angel is now my number one go-to for ghost investigations.
okay.
She's going on one December 3rd for me.
Okay.
And yeah, which is awesome because I can't get away. And then when's the next broadcast? The second?
For us?
Yeah.
It's, 7 days from now. So yes.
Yes, the second. So my arm will be probably wrapped up. I'm having surgery on it on the 1st. So, but I'll still be here. And
go live, just one button.
Yeah, it's my right arm too. Is having that removed on my good arm. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Get a pencil and put it in your mouth like the old days.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Here we go.
Like a chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so it's going to be fun to have you back on, Norm. And I'm glad you were here tonight.
Oh,
I hope everyone enjoyed them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the comments because I've got three monitors open, but I'm going to read everything later.
All right. But she just wrote, he is not nice. He's making her head hurt. Do you feel over your right shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel him over there?
It just started tingling, and my wife has been complaining of headaches for the more so recently over probably the past 2 months. I just thought you were saying I have a headache, but apparently it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
But all joking.
I am not going there. I like Lisa.
So, well, let me ask Angel, and if is there anything that I can do to help him?
He has been there too long. So there's no helping him, I guess.
Okay. I think there's always help to some degree.
He is getting nasty. You have to get him out now. So you might have to send him on his way.
Yeah.
Cleanse your house.
Yeah. Yeah. I get I get all tingly when I try not to get into that realm of it. I try to, but I'll do it. I've helped clear houses before. I just didn't want to rile things up in my own house even more than they already are. So,
She said
and
she's saying it's going to get worse. You're going to have to force them out.
yeah, well, I will bring love and light and those types of frequencies in, and that's all I can do. Right?
Mm,
You know what I mean? And try to help him cross over. So, but we've had a lot of electrical things, just like you see in the
yeah.
movies. We've had all those things happen. Things fall off the wall, just like how
Mm,
we've had our dog would bark, and our dog didn't bark at anything, kind of the hair go up on the back of their,
yeah.
her and just like in dark and bark into a dark room, into our dining room. We've had that. My daughter has come to stay with us, and her and her husband were in the room in the upstairs in the back bedroom, and they're like, "There's somebody in here," and they're talking in the dark amongst themselves, and they hear somebody walking around, and then we had a not stairmaster, but the where you walk on the thing. What the hell? What do you call that? I don't know. Where you walk, the treadmill, and there were clothes hanging on there, which most treadmills end up being clothes hangers, right? So,
Yep.
and all of the clothes got pushed off in the middle, like as my kids are talking about it, they were across the room, and all of the forcefully all they got pushed off. So yeah, there's some issues here, and I hung up a
Uh,
picture that my
all
wife
right.
gave.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He is full hate now. On the left side, he is pacing. Who is the blonde woman? He is showing her. Do you know of a blonde woman?
There was that man, if it's the same man, his wife passed before him. I don't know what she looked like, but that was part of his anguish, from what I know from the neighbors.
Hmm. Okay.
But there's something about this area, because my next door neighbor, probably about 4 years after the guy here killed himself, the next door neighbor did, and somebody said that there's just bad energy here. I don't know, but there's been two suicides, one next to each other. So I don't know.
That could be bad mojo or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, I play
I don't believe in coincidence that much,
right.
but that could have been.
Yeah,
Um, People go through some deep dark depression.
yeah, yep. And it's tough when you get in that mindset, that perspective, and then when you cross over in that mindset, do you stay there? I guess some people do.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh, she just asked, "Are you on a ley line? What's a ley line?"
I don't know if we're on a ley line. There, I don't know if Angel wants to explain it. There are energy lines
Oh,
that
okay,
naturally
okay,
happen. Most of the cities in around the world are built on ley lines. If you look at all the cities in the
right.
world, the major cities, you can connect them with straight lines. Those are ley lines, energy lines.
Yeah, yes,
Um, there might be some. We're close to the river. There's some underground
yes.
water. Yeah, I've got a lot of water under my house here. I had a lot of water under the house, where the little girl was climbing in the bed with us. She was probably about 4 or 5. But that's next week's story. So I don't want to get into that too much. I don't want this to run too long. But that was it was creepy, but it was loving at the same time. It was a weird mix. It was a weird mix. And kind of a spoiler alert here. I helped her cross over. I pulled my grandmother who had passed and my grandfather who had passed, and got this little girl to walk in between them. My grandmother held one of the little girl's hands, and my grandfather held the other hand of this little girl and helped her cross over. So that was nice. And maybe I call my grandma and my grandfather and help this guy cross over. I mean, that's all I can do
Uh,
is help.
Angel goes, "Oh, geez, that explains it." Uh, the water running underneath.
I
Um,
actually, there
that
are
might
two. Yeah.
that might help that energy flow from one house to the other.
Yeah, yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, interesting, Angel.
Hmm.
Very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all connected. It's got to go somewhere, right? And it is
Yes.
downhill that way. So Interesting.
And but I kind of agree with her. You got to cleanse that house of him.
Yeah.
Get him cleaned out. That plain and simple.
Right.
Because he needs to go. He needs
Yeah.
to get out.
Yeah.
Not being mean about it,
Sure.
but you know
I,
he needs to get to the other side.
I want him to experience the same love and comfort that I did when I went over. And maybe if he knew what it was like over there, then maybe he'd want to go. Maybe he feels like he doesn't deserve it. I don't know, because I haven't tried to tune into that frequency.
Right.
I get mail with his name on it all the time, and I can get it, anything that of his, with his name and his energy, and bring it down here and talk, to
Right.
him, with him, and see. But I really just,
But like she
I wanna-
says, the longer they stay, the harder it is to go.
well, it's probably been about 15 years at this point. Maybe
So
not. Maybe 12. I don't know. Between 12 and 15, because
so
we've been here 10. So
so you're going. Yeah, they do get very confused and they don't understand. I did know that, like she just said. Um, but you no, you need to cleanse them on out.
yeah,
Seriously. Um, now it's been long enough. He needs to get there.
yeah.
Get in tune. Get the place cleansed.
Mhm.
Um, it, that's my personal opinion too. And
Yeah,
Angel knows more than I ever will
yeah,
on this subject.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't want to confront that, but at the same time, the what I want doesn't matter if my wife
Right.
is having headaches. You know what I mean? And if he's the one that's doing that, we're gonna.
Yes.
I will deal with that. And like I said, if I told him, you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. Well, it appears that he's not holding up to his end of the bargain. You know what I mean? So I will
Right.
remind him of that after this podcast, when my wife is sleeping two floors away, so she doesn't hear what I say and how I say it. But I will open up the doors, and literally, and I'll even say what I need to say with my hand, with the door open in my hand on the knob, since that is energy that he is connected with.
All right.
So
Here's more of what Angel said since you can't see it yet. Suicides are the worst. They almost have to be forced out. Your your spirit guide kind of abandons you at the death of self harm, and he is causing your wife's headaches.
okay.
Yeah, he can make her very sick.
Hmm.
Um, so I definitely try to do something about that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that
Definitely,
information.
yeah. You know, yeah, he's probably angry at himself more than anything for doing this to himself.
Right.
Um, and he's going to take it out on you guys there.
Well,
What one way or the other, he's going to do stuff.
we can roll the dice. I will next week. I will change the camera angles around, and maybe we can do this live. I'll say what I need to say live. How about that for a podcast?
Yeah, yeah. And she goes, he's trying to put you in the same state as he is in,
Yeah.
depressed, angry,
Yeah.
sick. Yep. So, but anyhow, it is now 19 after.
Yeah.
And he will try to take what you love most, she says too. Uh, oh yeah, that would piss you off. You try to take
Right.
Lisa from you.
Yeah. Well, I will. That's crazy. I don't want to speak it into existence, but I've had some thoughts of things, concerning her, and it's just
Right.
like, you know, man, that'd be an awful accident. You know what I mean? And I just, like I said, I don't want to speak it into existence, but I've had these recurring dreams of her have her having an accident. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say it and speak it into
No,
existence.
don't. I know that how
Yeah,
that is. Don't.
yeah,
Yeah, he feels you love her, and he is an awful spirit. Yeah, because he lost the love of his life, and then he did that harm to himself.
yeah. Well,
So
apparently he
yeah,
was a nice guy. The neighbors that knew him said that he was a really nice guy,
mm,
but he lost his wife and then he got sick and that was it. He just decided that he wasn't gonna do it anymore. I don't have much of the story, but I didn't need much, How much more information do you really need?
yeah,
So
he is very intelligent. Angel says, and he's mad at her.
he's mad at who? Angel
Angel, yeah,
for relaying information.
yep.
Well, well,
See,
he and I are gonna talk tonight and tomorrow night and every night until next Friday, and maybe that's how we start off the evening with saying what we need to say in a loving way and trying to and we will do a clearing,
yes,
So, but
yes,
I'll make peace and all week, and then we'll ask what we need to ask on next Friday. How about that?
sounds like a plan to me.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Angel say, "Sorry, I hijacked you, but you didn't, Angel."
No, thank you.
Yeah,
That's what this is all about, sharing
yes,
information and
yes,
making things better, right?
exactly. But alrighty, we're gonna get out of here. Norm, thank you again,
Oh, thank you.
and thank you, audience and Angel. Angel kept it going for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
so you have a great evening, buddy, and I'll probably be talking to you tomorrow.
Okay, good. I look forward
I,
to it. I always do.
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Oh. One more question.
Question?
Yeah, from
Okay.
Angel.
Okay.
Come on, Angel, let it out. We're out of here. Did you see the tower when you died?
Did I see the tower
Yeah.
when I died? No, I don't remember seeing any tower at all. It was more of a feeling. There was like a park like place, but I never like any tower like a Tower of Babel or any kind of tower, any big structures. No, not that I can recall. I'm up for being hypnotized to see what that whole thing was about, but I can't recall anything. No.
Uh, okay. But all right. This is it, folks.
This is it for real.
For real. We're
All right.
out of here.
All right. Hit that button.
The tower is in the park, she said.
I have to look. I have to see if I can, when I meditate a little bit later, I will see if I can see what I see.
Right.
I'll let you know.
Hope to see you next week, Diane. Diane Dunn says bye. Looking
Yeah.
forward to next week.
Yeah, we're at an hour and a half at this point. That's long.
Yes. And I will talk to you all later. Norman, you're out of here. I'm removing you from the
All
studio.
right. See you later.
Bye, buddy.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you again for coming and hanging out with us for this little bit. And remember, the conference in March, we will be having it. Actually, I got a lot of people that's been telling me they're coming. It's going to be awesome. Hey, Angel, he's on my friends list. Well, actually, I'll send them to you. And so you guys can talk. And all right. Okay, folks. Talk to you later.